Y'all can be seated or stand up. Okay, please be seated. We are back with State Tennessee versus Sean Patrick Foley. I will note for the purposes of the record that all 12 jurors plus our 4 alternates are present, all wearing their juror badges. During the recess for the evening, were there any violations of the court's admonitions? Were there any consultation of outside sources?
No.
Did you do any independent research?
No.
Did you consult any newspaper articles or any media reports?
No.
Did you discuss the case in any detail with any family members?
No.
Have you tried to deliberate or speak about the case amongst yourselves?
No.
Are all 12 of you, all 16 of you ready to proceed today?
Yes.
And has anyone, I guess my last question, did anyone try to talk to you about the case?
No.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions, gentlemen?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, call your next witness, General.
State calls Deputy Andy Waters, Your Honor.
Mr. Waters, take a stand, face Judge Rachel right hand, please, sir.
Do you swear affirm tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Please be seated.
Will you state your name for the record, please, sir?
Andy Waters,
And where are you employed?
Blount County Sheriff's Office,
And how long have you been with the Sheriff's Office?
20 years.
And what is your current position at the Blount County Sheriff's Office?
Crime scene investigator,
And how long have you been doing that?
14 years.
Investigator Waters, did you have occasion to become involved in assisting with the investigation on August the 28th of 2018, the shooting at Beaver Drive?
Yes.
And I know your assistance was minimal, but did you have reason to photograph the individuals that came to the jail as a result of that investigation?
Yes.
Okay. If I may approach, please. You recognize this photograph, sir?
Yes.
What is that a photograph of?
Miranda Goddard.
And when was that taken?
That morning of, in interview room number 2, I guess.
And I'd ask this come as exhibit number 57, please.
So received in the evidence is 57.
And I just have 1 or 2 questions, investigator. Did you notice any visible injuries whatsoever to Miss Goddard at the time, the morning this happened?
No, sir.
Okay. And is that something you would have been looking for?
Yes.
Likewise, Deputy, do you recognize this photograph?
Yes.
What is that a photograph of?
Mr. Foley.
And is that taken that morning as well?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I'd ask this come to exhibit number 58, please.
Any objection? So received is 58.
Same question, Deputy. Did you look for and notice any injuries whatsoever on Mr. Foley that morning?
Yes, I looked for him. I didn't see any.
Okay, so you didn't see any visible injuries. Did you perform any other tests in regard to these 2 individuals? Or did you collect any other evidence?
Yes.
And what did you do?
From which one?
We'll start with Miss Goddard.
Okay, Miss Goddard. I collected 2 DNA buccal swabs from her, took photographs of her, and Investigator Carswell collected her clothing. I took it into evidence.
And what about Mr. Foley?
I collected 2 tubes of blood from him, also a GSR kit.
That's gunshot residue?
Gunshot residue.
And we've already seen the results of that. No further questions, Your Honor.
Cross-examination.
Deputy Waters, the photos that were placed, exhibit number 57, the photo of Miranda Goddard, we noticed her shirt was pulled up there and she had her arms splayed out like this. Did you ever remove the rest of her clothing to take
No,
out?
I did not.
Did you inspect her genitals or breasts for potential touching, anything like that?
No, I did not.
And Sean, did you have him remove his clothes to inspect his entire body or just what you could see?
Just what I could see.
Nothing further.
Redirect.
No redirect, Your
May
Honor.
this witness be excused?
Please, Your Honor.
Okay, you may be excused. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please call your next witness.
State called Dr. Christopher Lochmuller.
Your Honor, as he's coming, the defense and state have agreed to stipulate that Dr. Lochmuller is an expert in the field of forensic pathology.
We do such.
Take the stand, face the judge, raise your right hand, please, sir.
Do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Please be seated.
Before we begin, Dr. Lochmuller, the court, by agreement of the parties, it's my understanding it's a stipulation, correct?
It is, Your Honor.
They have agreed and stipulated that you are to be received as an expert witness in the field of forensic pathology.
Okay.
Dr. Lochmuller, if you wouldn't mind to state your name for the record and if you could spell it for the court reporter.
Sure, it's Dr. Christopher Lochmuller, Lochmuller.
And I know we've stipulated to your expertise in forensic pathology, but could you tell the jury what a forensic pathologist does?
So, forensic pathology is a subspecialty that you get specific training on, in-depth training on disease, on injury, on poisonings, on overdoses. And so how to recognize that, how to work it up, how to come up with a cause of death, how to determine manner of death. And our one of the main tools that we use is the autopsy. So looking at the outside of individuals' bodies and then looking on the inside of the body to identify disease and injury, and then to produce a report that records all of our findings.
And how long have you been working in the field of forensic pathology?
I have been here for almost a little over 9 years now.
In your current position?
Yes.
And what is your current position at the medical examiner or the forensic center?
So I am the Chief Deputy Medical Examiner for Knox and Anderson County at the Knox County Regional Forensic Center, and I also serve as a forensic pathology consultant to about 20 counties in East Tennessee. And I am the rotation director for the autopsy rotation for the University of Tennessee Medical Center for the Department of Pathology. So I teach pathology residents how to do autopsies.
It's safe to say you've performed a good number of them?
I have performed over 2,700 autopsies in my career.
As it relates to Mr. Jimmy Shelton's death on August the 28th of 2018, were you requested to perform an autopsy on Mr. Shelton?
I did.
And did you prepare, did you tell the jury what an autopsy involves, what exactly it is you have to do in order to perform one?
Sure. So what happens is an individual who has died under suspicious or sudden circumstances is reported to our office. If it's an out-of-county case, so something outside of Knox and Anderson County, someone will provide us with the circumstances surrounding the death. It's usually law enforcement. So they'll call our office and report the death and say that so-and-so has died under certain circumstances. The body is then sent to our facility, and on the day of examination, we will look at first we'll go over the circumstances to have an idea of what the case involves and what we're going to need to do. Then we examine the body as is. We take photographs. We document any findings or anything else we need to do. Then we take clothing off. We clean the body, examine it again, photograph anything that needs to be photographed. And once that's completed, then we'll proceed with opening the body and removing the organs and looking for natural disease, looking for injury, taking samples for toxicology. And once that's all complete, I put that all together into a final autopsy report.
And you did prepare a final autopsy report in this particular case?
I did.
If I could approach the witness, Your Honor. Dr. Lochmuller, do you recognize this document I'm showing you here?
You have presented me with a copy of the final autopsy report that I have generated for Mr. Jimmy Shelton.
Is that copy that's in front of you an accurate copy of the final report that you prepared?
It appears to be.
Okay, Your Honor, we'd offer that as the next number exhibit, which I think is 59.
Any objection?
No objection.
So received into evidence is 59.
Your Honor, I have a good number of pictures with this witness. If the court please, I'm going to just hand them to Mr. Kinsey here and let him look through them so that I'm not showing them one at a time. Can I have our solution?
Yes.
Dr. Lochmuller, do you recognize this photograph we'll call Exhibit 60 for purposes of identification?
I do. This is a photograph of Mr. Shelton as is before he has been taken out of the body bag and before he's been cleaned.
Was that taken at the Forensic Center?
Yes.
And this, okay, we'd offer that as Exhibit 60, Your Honor.
So received a 60.
Dr. Lochmuller, if you could, that photograph that I've just showed you is on the screen there beside you. Could you tell the jury what it is that you would notice immediately upon reviewing a body that's received as Mr. Shelton is here?
So what I see immediately in this, are they seeing this?
And they are, and if you draw on the screen, they'll actually see where you're drawing with your finger.
Oh, my finger. Okay. So what you can see right away is that you see his face, neck, and a portion of his chest. You see on the neck area here that there is an entrance gunshot wound on the right side of his neck. And in addition to that, on his left cheek, there's some blood. There was a small fragment, a metallic fragment that was recovered at the scene by law enforcement that had made a small defect in his left cheek. And I think that's all you can see as far as his injuries on this one photograph.
All right. I'll show you we'll call Exhibit 61. Do you recognize that photograph?
I do. This is an overall photograph of the shirt that Mr. Shelton was wearing. This is the front of the shirt.
Okay. Was that the shirt that we can see in Exhibit 60 there, that he's wearing a shirt? I can't get this one to come on, and I need to maybe clear it.
He can, if you can just clear that.
Okay.
He got it.
Is that the shirt, if we could offer that as Exhibit 61, Your Honor?
Received in evidence of 61.
Is Exhibit 61 there, is that the shirt that he's wearing in Exhibit 60 we were just looking at?
It is.
Do you recognize what we call Exhibit 62?
I do. This is a close-up of the front of the shirt looking at one of the defects near the collar of the shirt that corresponds to the entrance gunshot wound on the right side of the neck.
We'd offer that as Exhibit 62, Your Honor.
Received into evidence of 62.
And then on this one here, we'll call Exhibit 63. What is that one?
This is a photograph of the overall of the back of the T-shirt that we previously seen that you can see some of the exit defects on the shirt.
Okay, we'd offer that as Exhibit 63, Your Honor.
So received a 63.
Since 61 is still up there, Dr. Lochmuller, and while we're looking at it, could you tell the jury whether you can see the entrance wounds or what could be the entrance wounds on the shirt as it's depicted there?
Yes. So I'm going to circle them. There's the one here is the entrance defect for the gunshot wound of the right side of the neck. What I'm going to circle next is the defect in the shirt that corresponds to the gunshot wound of the right chest. What I'm going to circle next is the entrance defect for the gunshot wound on the left side of the chest. And it's hard to tell in this photograph, but there is a defect on the left side of the front of the shirt that corresponds to the gunshot wound of the left chest, and it's approximately in this area that I just circled down.
There's a clear button on your bottom of your computer there.
Got it.
If we're looking at Exhibit 62 here, Dr. Lochmuller, could you tell them what we're seeing here? I know we talked about this being a close-up.
So this is the front of the shirt, and what I'm going to circle right here is a defect in the front of the shirt near the collar that corresponds to the entrance gunshot wound on the right side of the neck.
And then is there another hole in that shirt that appears to be in
So there is a defect in the collar that I just circled. That corresponds to one of the exit defects, and there is another defect in the back of the shirt that corresponds to one of the exit defects.
Okay. So if we're looking at Exhibit 63, what's significant that we see here in 63?
So this is the back of the shirt, and what I will circle them for you. There is There are 4 defects in the back of the shirt that correspond to the exit gunshot wounds.
There seems to be in Exhibit 61, 62, and 63, clearly this is a bloody shirt, Dr. Lochmuller. As a part of the autopsy, were you able to determine what caused the victim's death?
Multiple gunshot wounds. So he was shot 4 times, and he died from multiple gunshot wounds.
Was there a lot of blood loss involved in that?
There was. So you can see that particularly the back of the shirt is blood-soaked. The right side of the chest contained 1 liter of blood. The left side of the chest contained half a liter of blood, and the abdomen contained 100 milliliters of blood. So each area had a fairly significant amount of blood loss.
Clear that for me.
Yes, sure, sorry.
Okay. Do you recognize what we call Exhibit 64?
I do. This is an overall photograph of Mr. Shelton after his clothes have been removed and he has been cleaned. So this is one of the clean overall photographs of the front of his body, sort of the upper half.
We'd offer that as Exhibit 64, Your Honor.
So received.
And you tell the jury what would be of note to you here as we're looking at Exhibit 64.
Sure. So the first thing I'm going to circle is the entrance gunshot wound on the right side of the neck. The next one I'm going to circle is the entrance gunshot wound on the right side of the chest. Next one I'm going to circle is the entrance gunshot wound on the left chest. And the fourth one I'm going to circle, you can just make it out. It's on the left side of the chest, so that most lateral aspect of it. So it's way out on the left side of the chest. So he has 4 entrance gunshot wounds.
Okay. I'll show you Exhibit 65. Doctor, what is Exhibit 65?
This is a close-up of the entrance gunshot wound on the left side of the neck.
Okay. We'd offer that as Exhibit 65, Your Honor.
So received.
Doctor, if you could tell us what's significant about 65 then.
So what's significant about this photograph is surrounding the entrance gunshot wound that I just circled. So within this circle, there are these small red dots that you see. Those are punctate abrasions that are formed on the skin when unburnt gunpowder particles that are discharged out the end of the firearm strike the skin and cause little abrasions. And what's the significance of that is that allows me to give an estimation as to the range of fire. So if you have stippling on the skin, it means that you are at least within 2 to 3 feet between the skin and the muzzle of the firearm. If there was any soot, it would make it closer. I didn't see any soot on the skin. I didn't see any soot on the shirt, but it was also very bloody in that area. So I can't say more than that this is what we would call at least an intermediate range of fire, which is the distance is about 2 to 3 feet between the muzzle of the gun and the skin.
And there appears to be to the right of the entrance wound there some other debris, I guess. What is that?
So I've just circled what you were calling the question. There is a small wound with a small metallic fragment sticking out of it. That is a fragment of bullet. It looks like a bullet jacket that was recovered at the time of autopsy. So this bullet was discharged, fragmented, and a piece of it stuck in the right side of his neck just next to the entrance gunshot wound.
I'll show you what we'll call Exhibit 65, Doctor. What is that 65?
What you're showing me is a photograph of the bullet fragment that's recovered from the right side of the neck.
If we could introduce that as 66.
Any objection? No objection. Received into evidence is 66.
That fragment we're seeing there in Exhibit 66 is the fragment that we saw in 65, Doctor?
That's correct. It was still sitting in the skin, partially protruding from it.
I'm going to go back to 65 for just a moment there. Were you able to determine for this entrance wound what the path of travel of the bullet was?
Yes. So this bullet goes from the front of his body towards the back. It goes right to the left and it goes down. And what it does is it hits one of the ribs, goes through the right lung, hits another rib, and then exits out the sort of middle of his upper back.
Something just happened to our picture.
Oh. Something's happened.
Just one. I got nothing.
There we go.
There it came. It came back. And so, doctor, if this gunshot wound had been standing alone, would that gunshot wound have been fatal?
In and of itself, yes, it could be without medical attention.
Now, we have talked about, and I think in your report you reflected an intermediate range of fire for this gunshot wound. What does it mean to say at least intermediate?
So, as I testified to before, I can make an estimation as to the range of fire, so the distance between the muzzle of the gun and the individual who was shot. And the things I look for are, is there a muzzle mark? So was the gun in direct contact with the skin? So it'd be a contact range of fire, and we don't have that. As the muzzle of the gun is made further away from the skin from contact, things that can deposit on the skin and or clothing are soot and unburnt gunpowder particles. And when we get out to about a foot, you can still see soot and unburnt gunpowder particles on the clothing. If that's present, you can see it on the skin, and you can also get that stippling I talked about. When you get past about a foot, but out to 2 to 3 feet, so you've lost the soot, but you still have the unburnt gunpowder particles and the stippling. When you get past 2 to 3 feet, you don't see any of that. We call it distant range of fire. So we have contact, where the gun's right on the skin. You have close range of fire, where you have soot and unburnt gunpowder particles. You have intermediate range of fire, where you've lost the soot, but you still have the unburnt gunpowder particles, and you can have stippling. And then when you lose that out about 2 to 3 feet, we call that distant range of fire.
So this particular entrance wound is intermediate.
So given that you have stippling, there is a little bit of unburnt gunpowder particles on the skin next to this entrance gunshot wound, it means we're at least, for an average gun, average ammunition, you're at least 2 to 3 feet between the muzzle of the gun and his skin. Given that there's a shirt that was there, I didn't see any soot on it, but in this particular gunshot wound there was blood there that may have obscured that. And so that's why I said it's at least intermediate.
I'll show you what we'll call Exhibit 67 for identification. Do you recognize this photograph?
I do.
What is that a photograph of?
So this is a photograph of of his back after he's been cleaned, and it does show the 4 exit gunshot wounds on his body.
We could have that marked as Exhibit 67.
Received as 67 into evidence.
So since we were talking about the entrance wound on the neck near the clavicle, Dr. Lochmuller, can you tell us which of these, well, can you point to the jury where these are and then tell us which one is the exit wound for the neck?
Okay. So what I'll start with that one. So what I'm about to circle, this exit gunshot wound is the exit gunshot wound for the entrance on the right side of the neck. The next one I'm going to circle is this exit gunshot wound is the exit gunshot wound for the entrance that's on the right side of the chest. This one up here on the neck is related to the entrance gunshot wound on the left chest, so it goes out and through the neck. And then this last exit gunshot wound I'm circling is the exit gunshot wound for the gunshot wound that's on the lateral aspect of the left side of his chest.
Okay. I'm going to show you what we'll call 68. You recognize 68?
I do.
Is 68 a close-up of 67? Or part of 67?
It is an orienting shot for the exit gunshot wound that's related to the neck, to the right neck.
We'd offer that as 68, Your Honor.
Receiving the evidence, 16.
If you could hit the clear.
Yeah.
So if you could, again, just point the jury to where this particular exit wound is then.
So the gunshot wound on the right side of the neck, again, it went through a rib, the long rib, and then exited out the middle of the upper back, and I just circled that. So that's the exit gunshot wound for the gunshot wound on the right side of the neck.
Is there anything significant about the exit wound itself that would tell you anything in terms of range of fire or whether the defendant was seated or standing or the victim was seated or standing?
So this particular one now is just a regular exit gunshot wound.
Show you what we'll call 69. Do you recognize 69?
I do. So this is a orienting photograph of the gunshot wound on the right side of the chest.
We'd offer that as 69, Your Honor.
So receiving the evidence is 16.
Dr. Lochmuller, will you tell the jury here about what we're seeing in Exhibit 69?
Sure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to circle the entrance gunshot wound on the right side of the chest. And this one looks a little different than the other one. There's some scraped skin around it. In addition to that, there is some stippling, just like we saw on the other one. So just based on that, we are within 2 to 3 feet, so it's at least intermediate range of fire. Looking at the front of the shirt that's associated with it, so there's a defect on the front of the shirt associated with this entrance gunshot wound. There what appears to be black soot on there, which means now we're actually within about a foot between the muzzle of the gun and the skin. So this one has a close range of fire.
What's the trajectory on this one?
So this one goes front to back, right to left, and slightly up. And it's going to go through his diaphragm and liver, and it exits out, and then it hits his spine. Doesn't injure the spinal cord, but does hit the bony spine, and then exits his back on the left side.
And I know I asked previously, is this particular gunshot wound fatal without the others?
This one would also could be fatal in and of itself without medical attention.
If I could refer you back then to number 67 there, where are we seeing the exit wound for that chest shot there?
Sure. I'm going to circle it right now. So what I've just circled is the exit gunshot wound for the right side of the chest.
And that is clearly up.
Slightly
up from where the entrance is. I'll ask you if you recognize this next photograph, 70.
I do. So this is an orienting photograph of the gunshot wound on the left side of the chest.
We'd offer that as 70, Your Honor.
Receiving the evidence is 70.
Could you tell the jury about this one?
Sure. I'm going to circle it. This is the entrance gunshot wound on the left side of the chest.
And this particular gunshot wound, did it have the same indications of stippling as the other one, the other two?
So this one did not. It did not have any of the gunpowder stippling that the other two had. However, from examination of the defect in the front of the shirt that corresponds to this, there appeared to be some black soot. So that would give it a close range of fire, which is about within 1 foot between the muzzle of the gun and the skin.
And what is the path of this particular wound?
So this bullet went front to back, left to right, up, and it goes through a rib and his left lung, and then exits out his neck.
Would this one have been fatal without the others?
This one could have also caused death by itself without medical intervention.
And I'm going to refer you back again to previous exhibit number 67. Can you show us where the exit wound is for this entrance wound?
Sure. I'm going to circle it right now. So right here where I've circled on his neck is the exit gunshot wound for the gunshot wound on the left side of his chest.
Again, and up above the entrance wound.
Yeah, so it's going up.
And then I'll show you, we'll call exhibit 71. Do you recognize 71?
I do. So this is an orienting photograph of the left side of his chest that is particularly looking at it shows you two gunshot wounds. It shows you the one we were just looking at. So the gunshot wound on the left side of the chest is just outside of where his nipple is. And then this one's also showing you the entrance gunshot wound on the lateral side of his left side of his chest. So a little bit more out and down from the gunshot wound we just looked at.
Going to read off of that as Exhibit 71.
Received and evidence is 71.
Doctor, if you could tell the jury then, I know you've explained it, but can you talk about it real quickly there and telling them where it is?
Yeah. So what I'm going to circle right now is, we've already looked at this one. The one I'm circling now is the entrance gunshot wound on the left side of the chest. That's the one that went through the lung and exited the neck. What I'm going to circle now is the entrance gunshot wound on the lateral left chest, which also has a similar trajectory. It's going front to back, left to right, and up. And this one also goes through his left lung.
Were you able to determine a range of fire on this particular?
So for this one, I could not. So there's no muzzle mark. There is no soot. There's no gunpowder stippling. There's no unburnt gunpowder particles on the skin, and there's no soot or unburnt gunpowder particles that I could see on the shirt. So when that's the case, I call it indeterminate.
Now, if we can look at previously marked Exhibit 67, can you show us where the exit for that gunshot wound then is?
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to circle that right now. So what I'm circling now is the exit gunshot wound that is for the gunshot wound on the lateral left chest.
All right. I'm going to show you this photograph. I believe this will be a close-up. We'll call it 72 for identification. Is that a close-up of that exit wound?
It is. So this is a clean photograph of the exit gunshot wound for the gunshot wound of the left lateral chest.
We'd offer that as Exhibit 72, Your Honor.
Received and evidence is 72.
Dr. Lochmuller, if we're looking at Exhibit 72 here in the close-up, could you tell the jury it looks different from the others?
It does. So I'm going to circle it. This is what we're talking about right here. This is the exit gunshot wound for the gunshot wound of the left lateral chest. And what's different about it is you not only have in the center where you have the hole where the bullet comes out, but surrounding it you've got this pink abrasion. And what that indicates is that the skin was touching something that was fairly firm, so that when the bullet pushed out of his body and pushes the skin out, that the skin will slap into that firm surface and cause an abrasion, so it scrapes the skin. And what we call that a shored exit. So it indicates that this part of his body was touching something that was had some firmness to it that would allow for this abrasion to occur. So it's like if you're sitting in a chair, or if you're on the ground, or your back's up against the wall, and when this happens, it has to be something fairly firm for the skin to slap into that caused this particular change on the skin.
Would a T-shirt be sufficient?
No.
Dr. Lochmuller, I know you may have to reference your autopsy report to tell us, but how tall was Mr. Shelton?
I'll refer to my report. We had him as 71 and a half inches.
Is that 6'3"?
That is 5'11" and a half.
Okay. Dr. Lochmuller, I don't have any other questions at this time.
Mr. Kimsey, cross-examination.
Did you have the, while you're referring to your report, did you have the decedent's weight?
I do. Should be in here. He was 228 pounds.
Okay, I'm flipping back to my notes here. We went through several autopsy photos. Speaking to the gunshot wound on the neck, Exhibit 65, that was a close-up of it. The red stippling that was around was determined that that shot was taken at 2 to 3 feet there was no soot around the injury, but you weren't able to determine whether there would have been soot on the shirt because of the blood. Is that what you said?
So it is. So you're right about the shirt. I'm looking at it. I can't see that there was any, if there had been any soot because of the blood there. Given that you do have stippling around there, that again, for an average gun, average ammunition, that you can see stippling out to about 2 to 3 feet. So it's past that you shouldn't see it. So you can see it up to that. So we can be closer than 2 to 3 feet. It just without soot, you're somewhere generally between a foot to 2 to 3 feet. But I can't say there wasn't any soot because of the circumstances of what we have. But the muzzle of the gun and his skin are within 2 to 3 feet.
And that wound has a downward angle to it. Is that
It
correct?
does. In front to back, right to left and down.
Thank you. The remaining 3 bullets have upward paths. Is that correct?
One has slightly up, and the other 2 are much more up. They're really going up rather than just barely going up.
Okay. Can you explain how that happens? 1 down and 3 up.
Sure. So when someone's discharging a firearm, 2 things can happen. Is either, and they can both be going on, or one or the other, is the shooter can be moving. So either their body's moving or their arm, the way they're holding the gun and pointing it is changing with each discharge of the firearm. And then the other thing that can happen is that the decedent is body's moving when this is happening. So it's not the event doesn't have to be purely static where everybody's perfectly still. You have 2 individuals in this case, and one or both of them can be moving while this is all going on.
Okay. And that, thank you. On the exit wound number, I'm going to call it number 4, the one that's different. Once you said the skin was slapping, I'll call your attention to an exhibit. Exhibit 72.
Correct.
Which was where the skin slapped. Is there anything else that can cause that?
Not that I know of. It's like I said, this is to have this type of abrasion around an exit means that the skin was shored. So the skin is up against something firm enough that when the bullet pushes out and pushes the skin into that surface, it causes it to become scraped. It abrades it. It can occur with clothing if the clothing is fairly tight, like a belt or something, or a really thick leather jacket, something that's tight on the skin. But something that's thin and loose wouldn't in and of itself have that happen. So a short exit is indicative that when that bullet passed through, that portion of the body was up against something. I can't tell you what it was,
right,
but it was up against something fairly firm that would allow this to happen.
But it doesn't have to be like a deck or a wall. It could be something that's simply pressed against the skin and then moved, right? I mean, it doesn't have to be a structure, for instance.
Yeah, as long as it's firm enough that it would allow this to happen. So yeah, if there's something
Like a metal chair?
Yes.
May I move my coat briefly? I'm going to ask the doctor a question. I need to move a little bit more than this coat will allow me to.
Any objection?
I'm here. Thank you.
Commissioner Graham?
Doctor, the entry wound on the right side of the neck, does it make sense for somebody's position, the body position, to be like this?
You're going to have to speak up.
I apologize. Does it make sense for the bullet, the entry wound at the neck, for someone to have been bent over like this, for to have gone in and come out in the middle of the back?
So how I'll answer any of your positioning questions is I'll start with that what you have to do is you have to keep a line of sight down the barrel of the gun and through the path it took through the body. And so as long as you maintain all of that together, you can put the shooter and the victim in various positions as long as you can maintain that. Given the circumstances of this and these particular gunshot wounds, I can't tell you the positioning of people, but the scenario you gave is possible.
Thank you. Additionally, the remaining 3 exit wounds where the bullets travel up, does it make sense? The shooter could have gone from this position to this position, or excuse me, the decedent could have gone from this position to this position, along with following maybe the shooter following like this?
The scenario given is a possibility.
Could have been tackled.
Could have been
The shooter could have been tackled in the scenario that I'm giving.
the victim or the. So you're.
I'm asking if the victim could have been tackling the shooter.
I think that's, so the scenario you're given is that the victim was charging the shooter, and that's why he's decked down, he's coming low, and that would explain the trajectory in the neck. And then I'm not quite following the position you're showing was correct. It's more like the victim is now falling backwards, and it would allow for those upward trajectories.
That's all. Nothing further. Thank you.
I mean, I know you've said, Doctor, that it could be any number of positions. I mean, if our victim is sitting in a chair like this and starts to get up, would that not be possible as well?
Yes.
And if someone is tackling someone, has a hold of them, would that not be closer than a foot? I mean, in terms of where the gun is relative to these entry wounds, if they've got their arms around them?
So if they're in that close of proximity, it just depends on how far away they're holding the gun away from the shooter's holding away from the victim. So that you could have it more than a foot away, or you could have it closer. So like I said, it is, as long as you maintain the line of sight to the muzzle and the trajectory to the body, you can put them in different scenarios that are possible. So they both can't, neither of them are levitating in the air, and one isn't hiding behind the building somewhere. We kind of have an idea of how close the two are given what I've seen based on my autopsy. So most of these are within 2 to 3 feet or less. You know, for this event, that's about how close they are.
Would the victim have been able to take staggering steps, if he had been shot one of these times? And I know you can't tell us which one's first, but would he have been able to stagger forward to fall?
So none of these, based on what I've seen, that I can say with 100% certainty, should have been immediately incapacitating. So it didn't. What I mean by that is he should still be conscious, and he should still be able to move. His brain and his spinal cord were not injured, so he should have been. Based on what I'm saying, he should have been able to. It doesn't mean he's going to move, but this is not like getting shot in the head or in the spinal cord and you lose function. So he should not have been unconscious immediately, and he should have been able to move. He chose not to. I can't explain that. So he should have been able to have ability to move after he got shot.
Okay, thank you.
Very free cross, Your Honor. If someone staggers forward, do they fall on their back?
If someone is charging forward and they had no ability to then change their direction, they should stumble, they should fall forward. Again, as I said, he should have had the ability to move, so he could, if you're shot, he may be trying to retreat and fall backwards in this when it's going on. I can't tell you what happened. I wasn't there.
Sure.
And based off of the circumstances I've seen and my findings, I cannot give you the exact positionings of these two individuals.
Okay. Nothing further.
Nothing further from Dr. Lochmuller.
Can you approach, I have a question. Any other questions? You stay right there. We have a question, and it is marked question D.
Dr. Lochmuller, question is, did the unburnt gunpowder particles travel through Mr. Shelton's shirt?
Some of them had to, given that you have if you look at that picture of the shirt, that there's particles that are, it's close to the collar, so some could go above the shirt, not actually hit, but there's stippling and unburnt gunpowder particles that are adjacent to the wound, but would have been underneath. It had to pass through the shirt, and it can do it. You can do it in thin shirts like that he had on.
It can.
It can.
Okay. Gary, you want to mark this?
No. Anything further from this witness?
Not for me, Your Honor.
Okay, will this witness be excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Our next witness.
Our next witness is Investigator Jessica Sparks, but I think we might have some stipulations that may make her testimony unnecessary. Okay. So, Your Honor, with that being said, there's a stipulation. The state has 2 phone extractions, one from the phone of Mr. Sean Foley, which the state is going to be introducing a copy of the recording, which we're stipulating was on Mr. Foley's phone.
That's correct.
And as well as the phone extraction of Mr. Jimmy Shelton. So I would seek to introduce, I guess I'll go in order, Mr. Foley's phone extraction as exhibit number 73, please.
Okay, so received as exhibit 73.
A copy of the recording from Mr. Foley's phone is exhibit number 74.
So received as 74.
The phone extraction of Mr. Shelton's phone is exhibit number 75.
Any objection?
Can I ask the general one question?
Sure.
Yes.
So it's my understanding exhibit 75 is being marked for identification, correct?
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
And that its authenticity is stipulated to, and so therefore the next witness is not going to be necessary for authenticity?
Not for authenticity, no, Your Honor. And at this time, I think what also has been stipulated too, the state is going to seek to play the recording from Mr. Foley's phone. There's a transcript of that recording that we have obviously discussed before. I'd ask at this time to distribute copies of that transcript so that we can follow along with the recording.
Okay, so that would be, for the purposes of the record, Mr. Kinsey, it's my understanding, and based upon our discussions, that there's no objection to the transcript coming in as evidence in Exhibit 76.
No, Your Honor, no objection at all.
So number 76 will be the transcript by agreement. And then, before you pass it out,
Yes.
the tape is 73.
I believe that was, the recording was
74. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the recording that is directly related to this transcript is Exhibit 74. The transcript has been marked and entered into evidence by agreement. However, I must caution you that the best evidence is the tape and their audio recording itself. So you may use the transcript to assist you, and as I said, it's been stipulated to by the parties. However, the audio recording is the best evidence.
Does the court need any additional copies for anyone?
Get one. And after they're finished. So I would ask, before you start reading your transcript, let's start the audio. I will caution you that as you read along with the transcript, please do not let it distract you from actually listening to the audio tape. If you hear a discrepancy between the transcript and the audio tape, as I've previously told you, is the evidence that you are to consider.
Calm down. Jesus Christ. What? I'm supposed to be the young one. She did that. Oh, no. I need you to calm down. I don't know. And you should actually let you listen to me. What? Something about you. I've never done my shit to you. I can arrange it. I can make it. I've read it. It's in my realm. Trust me, I was about money. And I ain't about fucking letting you go. Yeah, granted, I was young and I was stupid because I was scared. They got bad enough in the last month. I would say that you and one of your friends, I'd be reasonably good for an hour. Oh, I gotta check this out for that. Just 2 p.m. You two will be joined. It's that buddy in my head. I don't know my either. That's what I was telling. And why? Because that's all I know. Honestly, I don't understand. And I don't understand why it's stuck. And I don't understand why I am feeling like you can over. I wasn't going to feel that's what's wrong with masculine I was wasn't into something anybody. Always been hungry. I was molested far before that. No, I was molested well before that. Robert and Elizabeth had already been doing shit with me.
We knew nothing of this.
No, not knowing
You didn't tell her.
she didn't know anything happened to me about what happened to me when I mean, literally, Robert was a rapist before. You even come to the farm. Where was your apartment? And no. You don't even know.
I know. I don't care. I don't care.
I know. I went through what I went through because I felt like I needed to form my thing. I put myself through that. And even when I still I fucking freaking alright, and I put myself through what I want to for my family. Honorable. All that will, all that will, that's all done. You are done. I don't care about that. I care about the things you find. I care whatever. You scared of your daughter. I don't care if I for my daughter. I don't want my daughter around you. I don't know what it's going to take for you to understand. And you're working yourself. Nothing is ever going to take that away. It will never. And then you go, if you never put you know, I understand. If you want to listen, and you should not think right, truly, do right by me. And I will you get nothing for your holy, and you're never get what you get. I still would never think, would never try to judge without alone. At this point. That's a weird abbreviation. Those two are 100% innocent. Those two are thumbs right now. And everyone's around. I know. And I know once a person is in them, and they will never escape. And they would never escape. And they would never have any inkling. Those two are the two. I love them, and truly, I don't want you to do anything. There's too much to do with my daughter. Period. Okay, now. I made a special point to be alone with you. I know, and I appreciate it. And I really appreciate it. And I want to you. And I want what you can tell me. You got to go. You don't think I can. I can't. Sure. That's fine. That's fine. But you can. Okay. If I wanted to do it now, if I wanted to do it now, do it. I'll do it right now. Do it right now. I've got trouble. I've got color. You can do shit. Yes, okay, I'm just going to stop. It doesn't want to believe this, and I was sitting there, you can do that. None of you would have anything to do with it. Look, really, it blows me really. It blows me really. I don't care. Really, it's because you really. It's no, it's bullshit. It's fucking shit. I know what I'm calling.
I don't want to see about your mother, so I can make sure of that. But I'm not going to look at you. Period. I'm not asking you. You know what I want, and I'm not asking for you, and I don't want you to expect me to do anything from an awful life, and he knows it. You can be comfortable with not giving you that. Can you? If not, but he will be if it means having a midstream. Yeah, well, otherwise, no. You will. No, the fucking instruction. No, it's fine. No, it's fine. He will be okay with it. He won't like it, but he'll be okay with it. As long as there's no actual sex involved. Well, I mean, maybe other connotations involved with him being comfortable and just making sure that I'm not or anything like that. But no, I'm not going to have stipulations when it comes to shit like that. That's not a stipulation. These are should know that I'm fucking paying for it. I'm going to do it. So, either he can, as long as you're not penetrating me, I'm not with your penis. It'll be fine. I need to make sure that it's still on. Stay the fuck out of the picture. And what I'll do, I can make sure that it'll be a further conversation. Granted, it won't go past a conversation. It's past, it'll be what it is. But more than that, we have a conversation. Well, unfortunately, the conversation can be recorded. Well, that is, well, I know it's likely, but if it means our survival. You won't like it. But you'll be okay with it, one way or another. I'm more of us moving forward. And I don't care what it takes. Even though I like it, but they'll be okay with it. As much as it likes it, they'll be okay with it. And it hurts my mouth just to fucking say it. Never. Yeah. And just let me go back. What are you asking? Alright, nice. And tomorrow, question him and let him. If he agrees, he might want to dress his mind. No, it sucks. I will never be interested in that. But anything after that, you honorable. I'll fuck you. I understand that. Whatever happens, whatever, honorable. As of right now,
Swear to God. All that's on fucking recording and it's recording right now. I fucking swear to God, you sick fuck. You fuck with her again, and I will fucking drop you.
Sean, stop.
No, that's too fucking much. Stop. That's too fucking much.
Sean!
No, that's too fucking much. You over there now. Come here. Come here now. He was molesting her. I have it all on recording.
Did you shoot him?
Yes, he was molesting her.
What?
No, I fucking...
Miranda, come here now. I don't care. You still go to jail for it.
Miranda, come here now. Miranda, come here now. He fucking rushed me. Come now. Come here now. Miranda, he was molesting her and I fucking have it on recording. Miranda, come here now. Miranda, come here now. Come here. He was molesting her. Her pants were down. 911. I'm at 808 Beaver Drive now. I fucking shots fired. My girlfriend's being molested by her stepdad. I need police here now. Shots fired. Shots fired. 808 Beaver Drive. I have it on recording. He was fucking molesting my girlfriend, her stepfather. Your pants were down. I need police here now. I have my weapon drawn, sir. My name is Sean Foley. He molested her. Her fucking pants were down. We need an ambulance now, sir. I don't know, sir. 40-ish. Sir, I need an ambulance now. I need an ambulance now, sir, please. Miranda, come here now. Sir, 911, please, get officers here now. He was molesting my girlfriend. I fucking have it on recording. The mom's calling now, sir. Please, they're freaking out. Please, sir. Miranda, come here now. Please. My mother-in-law is calling 911 now. I need officers here now, sir. Yes, sir. Miranda, come here now. We're going up front. Yes, sir. Please stay on the phone with me. Miranda, come here now. Please come here now. Please, sir. Miranda, come here now. Sir, please stay on the phone with me. Miranda, up front now. Miranda, come here now. Sir, are you still there? Miranda, he was fucking molesting you. Sir, please get here. 808 Beaver Drive in Maryville. Please get her now. Yes, sir. Miranda, come here now. Please come here. I was recording. He was trying to rape you for a fucking car. Yes, sir. They said he's not breathing. Yes, sir. The guy that I fired on, he was trying to rape my girlfriend. Please, they're all on the phone right now. I need officers here now, sir. My name is Sean Foley. I'm an Army veteran, sir. Honorable discharge. I have my carry permit. I have it on recording. He was trying to rape my girlfriend for a fucking car. I came outside and told him to stop. She pulled her pants up. He rushed me. I opened fire, sir. I need officers here now. Please, please, please. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Miranda, come here now, please. I'm so sorry, sir. He is on the back porch. I'm standing about 40 feet away. My girlfriend won't come here. Her mom, who is the wife, and her younger sister is over here, and they're watching him, and they're saying he's not breathing. She works for Cremation Options in Maryville, sir. I need officers here now, please. I am so sorry. Miranda, come here! Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Miranda, come here now. We have to go up front. Come here. Sir, please, 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 please. He was gonna fucking rape you! Just like he did your entire fucking childhood. Come here now. He tried to fucking grab my weapon. Sir, please. Hey, I was recording. My name is Sean Foley, sir. My girlfriend is Miranda Goddard. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Miranda, come here now. We have to go up front. We have to go up front now. Please, sir. Miranda, come here now. I have it on recording, sir. I was recording for the last 20 minutes. Yes, sir. I'm so sorry, sir. I'm freaking out a little bit. Yes, sir. She's next to me, yes, sir. I'm trying to get her to go up to the front by the road with me. My girlfriend's sister's on the phone with 911 right now. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Miranda, I'm on 911. Come here. Was there penetration made? Was there penetration made? I'm on 911. Was there penetration made? She's not talking, sir, but I know she was molested her entire life by him. I still have my weapon in my hand, sir, by the way, just so you can let officers know, but they're saying he doesn't have a pulse. But I walked outside and told him to stop, and I looked at Miranda, and she told me to stop, and he rushed me, and I pulled the trigger about 8 or 9 times. I don't know how many times I just pulled the trigger, sir. Miranda, come here now! Miranda, come here, please. Baby, right now, come here. Come here. I'm on 911 right now. I have the entire thing recorded. Come here, up front. Come here. Come here. Miranda, please, baby, come here. We got my girlfriend out of jail today. She was arrested for a failure to appear for a traffic citation, and we got her out. She's trying to get a car, and I had the entire thing recorded for the last 20 minutes or so. We've all slightly been drinking, but he straight up, like, he was trying to talk to her about, like, what do you want to do now, and yada, 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 and I can get your car. Like I said, sir, I have the entire thing recorded. Miranda, come here. We have to go up front. That man molested you your entire life. Come here now, please. I'm on 911. Come here. Sir, please get officers here immediately, please. Miranda, come here. I'm so sorry, sir. Miranda, come here. Come here. Come here now. Come here. Yes, sir. Sorry, I'm trying to get my girlfriend to come up front by the road. Miranda, come here now, please. I have that entire thing on recording. Come here. Baby girl, come here. They're saying he's not breathing, he doesn't have a pulse, and they're claiming that he's dead. My girlfriend's mom works for Cremation Options, so this is pretty much, yeah. Miranda, please come here.
What is Miranda's name?
Goddard, sir. Goddard. Yes, sir. But I've been recording because he made sure that I had to go inside. He was outside on the back porch with her, and I was recording, and I was repeating everything that was said just in case the recording couldn't hear it. And he was talking about, what do you want to do now? And I looked out the window, and I was fucking watching, and I was repeating everything. And I saw him stick his hand in his pants, so I fucking ran outside to tell him to stop. And Miranda walked up and said, baby, it's okay, as she was pulling her fucking pants up. And then I looked up, and he rushed me, and I pulled the trigger, and as I pulled the trigger, he fell and hit the porch. His name is, Jimmy Sheldon. Miranda, come here now. Sheldon, yes, sir. Miranda, come up here. We have to wait for the officers. Come here. Miranda, come here. My identification is inside, sir, but my name is Sean Foley. I have a carrier permit, sir. Miranda, come here now. Now, please, come here. We have to go by the road. We have to wait for officers. Come on. That man is not going to fucking touch you anymore. But I don't know if there was penetration made, but when I walked out the door, he stuck his hand under her pants, and as I walked out the door, she stood up and she pulled her hands up. Miranda, come here. The man was going to rape you for a fucking car. But The only reason I pulled the trigger, sir, is because he fucking rushed me. And he reached for my fucking weapon. I pulled the trigger about 7 or 8 times. I don't know how many times I pulled the trigger, sir. Yes, you will, Miranda. We're sitting on the road right now. It is 8:08. Yes, sir. I'm sorry. Miranda, come here. We're going to walk down the road. Miranda, come here now, please. Baby, come here. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is a Springfield Mod 2 subcompact 40, sir. And I have my identification and my carry permit inside, sir. But I have the entire thing. I can hear silence now, but I have the entire thing on recording, sir. I am wearing a black shirt with white swim trunks, so they're kind of white and black plaid with red. But I'm standing on the road right now with my weapon in my left hand, so please let the officers know I have my weapon in my hand, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm going right now. The mailbox is behind me, sir. Yes, sir. My weapon is in the mailbox. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Understood. I'm gonna put you on speakerphone. You're on speakerphone. Miranda, stand up. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm waving my hands right now. Miranda, put your hands up. Yes, sir. They're pulling up right now. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I have you on speakerphone right now. They told me to get on the ground. Yes, sir. It's in the mailbox, sir. I'm on the phone with dispatch. Yes, sir. It's in the mailbox. 808, the one on the left, sir. My name is Sean Foley. I'm on the phone with dispatch right now. Miranda, baby girl, it's okay. He's on the back porch, sir. We're in an ambulance. Yes, sir. 1 second, sir. I can't hear you over the officer, sir. Yes, sir. I can't hear you. Just stay on the phone because I have a recorder, sir, please. Yes, sir. Her mother and her younger sister. Where are they? They're on the back porch, sir.
With the body?
Yes, sir. My weapon's in the left mailbox, sir. Yes, sir. Understood. Miranda, it's okay. Yes, sir. My identification's in the house, sir. I have my carry price on. Yes, sir. My phone's right there, sir. Walk behind the truck, sir. I have it all on recording.
For the record, Your Honor, that is 34 minutes and 30 seconds where the recording ends.
Charles, here's 76.
Join us to collect the extra transcripts.
Please. Those need to come to us. Rick, I need those. And those, do you have all the copies from the jury?
Yeah.
Okay, those are going to be entered for identification purposes as the copies that the jurors had. What number are we up to? 77. 77.
Your Honor, I think by agreed stipulation, we have agreed to enter the blood alcohol reports for both Mr. Foley and Mr. Shelton at this time.
Okay, and that leads me to, we had a question by a juror with Officer Waters that came up after he had left the stand. I'm going to hand that. It's been marked as question C. If you could review that question, I believe that you're fixing to answer it.
Yes.
Okay. We could, the question for the purpose of the record, what was the blood drawn for and what were the results? Is that part of the stipulation?
It is, Your Honor.
Okay, so we have the blood alcohol report from Sean Foley. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor. And what was the next numbered exhibit? I'm sorry.
That'll be 78.
78.
By agreement will be 78. Official TBI toxicology report. And exhibit 79 is the official toxicology for James Shelton.
Yes.
So received.
If I may publish those at this time,
You
please,
may
Your Honor.
publish.
Just for the purposes of the record, Mr. Foley's alcohol report shows a blood draw at 9:50 a.m. with a .046 blood alcohol content. No drugs were detected in his system.
Okay.
And then Mr. Shelton's blood, which was collected at the Forensic Center, shows a .213 blood alcohol content. And again, with no drugs being detected in the system.
Thank you.
May we approach this, please, Your Honor?
Yes. All right, ladies, we have a question. Step back. Turn me back on. I can get that question, and then we'll. If you could please, referring to exhibit, Mr. Shelton's was exhibit 79. The question that I'm going to mark as E, is what time was his blood drawn? But it would have been pursuant to the autopsy.
Right.
So,
I mean, there's a time that's on there, but yeah, collected at 1 p.m.
1 p.m. is what
Yes.
the official report says?
Yes.
Okay.
So it would have been, a day later. We need an explanation with that.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay. You're indicating that at this time would be a good time for a recess, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, all right. The court is going to break for a recess. I'm going to send you back to the jury room. If you could, please do not discuss the case amongst yourselves. Do not consult any outside sources. Do not begin any deliberations. Do not conduct any independent outside investigation. I'll bring you back. I'm not sure about your lunch, but I'll bring you back when I can. So, all right, all rise. Okay, please be seated. So the state's indicating that the next witness will be Miranda Goddard, and that will be a lengthy witness.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, court will be in recess till 1 o'clock.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, Rick. Because of the one approved, I went in and put in a bunch of snacks and things back there for Chick-fil-A should be in. The goal is to try to bring it back on.
Can I approach that?
Hey, yes, and General Desmond, could you approach it into?